mysterious death curse washes over the land, driven by a powerful artifact known as the Soulmonger. 4 would-be heroes have been sent to the jungles of Chult to destroy the cause of this terrible affliction. Vale, the half-elven paladin, who's just now learning of his divinely granted powers. Ubo, the total monk from a distant land, who's as quick with his wit as he is with his staff. Brilinya, Aasimar warlock, sent on this quest by her temple, discovering herself in this strange new land. And gunslinger Cole, tiefling artificer and archaeologist who may just dig up more than she bargained for. This motley band of adventurers must work together to brave the poisonous plants, venomous monsters, thundering dinosaurs, and rotting undead of the jungle. Join the omnipotent dungeon master Jake from mini-terrain domain to see if our heroes can find the Soulmonger, uncover the deeper mysteries of Chult, and free the world from the death curse. Welcome to the jungle. Welcome to Chult of Personality.
Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Chult of Personality, episode 39 in our long-running Tomb of Annihilation campaign, taking place every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Mini Terrain Domain. We are glad to have you along with us, whether you are watching with us live right now or you're joining us later on VoDs. Either way, we're glad to have you along. We're not going to waste any time. Domain dice, they're a thing. That's what all these little devils are below me. They're what they can do is explained in the crawl going along the bottom of the screen. Or you can type in domain dice into the chat, type ! Domain dice, and all the good deeds that these things do for the players. They are something that can be purchased for $5 donation or a 500 bits cheer, and it gives them all kind of cool benefits. You can also type in ! chat commands to see all the other wonderful chat commands you can do, like typing in a player's name or a character's name, etc., to see what is going on. I just want to play some D&D tonight, and I think these guys do too. So we're going to get right into it. This is episode 39 of our Tomb of Annihilation campaign that has been going on for, at this point, I think we're getting close to the 1.5 year mark. We're at like 1 year and 4 months, maybe 1 year and 5 months. My longest running campaign, and I know for... At least I think Megan has mentioned that this is the longest running character she's ever had. So I look forward to shattering her spirit when I kill Brilinya in just a few minutes. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding about that. I look forward to it, Megan. Not that I'm going to do it. So with that said, who among you would like to give us a recap of the last couple sessions? For a point of inspiration.
I will.
All right. Gonna need that point of inspiration.
Yeah, now you made me nervous.
All right, go for it.
So the session started with a fight between the mysterious people who the Weeping Friars and their mercenaries, and Brother Mateus had taken Brilinya and put her into this gem type thing, and so while the rest, Dunala, Eric, and Vale, were fighting against these mercenaries, Brilinya was essentially being tortured inside of this gem, in that she thought that she was in the room back in the monastery for months and months and months, even though only a little bit of time had passed by. And the battle was very, very intense. It looked like maybe some people weren't going to make it, and then in fact, Eric tried to go and save Brilinya by himself, and got caught between these two Azamar twins, and they cast Feeble Mind on him, and he turned into a bird, an actual bird, who eventually flew away to back to Kirsabal, thinking that's where his home was. And so then with Brilinya, after what she felt was 6 months of passing by, Brother Matthias had her strapped down and poured mithril onto and into her scars. And she began to scream because that was the most pain she had ever felt. And Dunala and Vale had just kind of finished up dealing with the others and noticed that she was heard her scream and came over and saw that she was out of the gem and there. But unfortunately, she had no memory of them or anyone or anywhere or what they did. And also from being kind of locked away for 6 months, she was scared and she attempted to attack I forget his name now, the monk guy who was with them, who also survived.
Oh, Orvix.
Orvix, yeah.
He's the
yes,
scribe.
yes,
Orvix Okramus is the old man that's the scribe for the friars.
So she tried to hit him, but Vale jumped to the way, and she ended up hitting him instead, which was not good. So, but eventually, Dunala suggested that she cut her bullshit and just follow them, and that's where we ended, just to kind of get some rest and to regroup. And yeah,
Excellent. Take that point of inspiration. Wonderful recap. And for all intents and purposes, that 6 months, you're not entirely sure if that 6 months that you spent in the gem actually was 6 months, or if you just perceived it to be 6 months. Going to bring up the map real quick as a reminder, and for anybody watching. So on the left-hand side of the screen is a sort of walled-in area of the compound, and that first little building, just above where that break in the wall is where you guys have holed up yet again, where you previously had found this compound had been overrun. Apparently the Yuan-Ti had attacked the Weeping Friars. You found many dead bodies of both Yuan-Ti and Weeping Friars, and mostly mercenaries and sort of helpers, like the jungle equivalent of a Sherpa. And so you found yourself back here. It's also where you were originally found just a couple days ago. You ran into Orvix Okramus. And he's the one who actually told you all about the story, the tale of the nine trickster gods, and kind of gave you the information about the fact that there were these keys all throughout this area of the lost city of Omu. So I can't quite see what you're asking, so if you can just ask me, Megan, if it's easier. Or do I need to read that?
Nope. I'm nope. Just
Okay. So Yeah, for some reason, my current position on my monitor, I'm realizing my chat is just out of my ability to easily be able to read it. Old eyes. So we are going to pick up with you guys were able to go back into this compound. You were able to kind of get settled in, start dressing your wounds, and eventually sort of drift off to sleep to take a long rest. First, the question for Vale and Dunala. Would you have what would you have done in the way of keeping watch as you all are recovering from the previous day?
Dunala would look to Vale and he would say, "Do you have the capability to summon forth Moyo?"
Think so. Hang on. And I'll kind of just like rub my hands together and then just kind of concentrate really hard. And I imagine that the jungle detritus would just start to like form together into like this outlying shape of Moyo, and then it would just kind of like, it's almost like it's like being painted. It's almost like Moyo is being painted into reality, where these like streaks of these jaguar spotted colors just begin to like kind of push through into reality, and Moyo is standing right there.
I really like that, and that's like pieces of dried and broken vine, possibly even from the shambling mound you had destroyed a couple days before, sort of weave their way into this natural illustration and become those serpents that rise off of Moyo's shoulders as your Commodon steed appears.
Have Moyo patrol the perimeter of this compound. I will take first watch, and I will talk with Brilinya and try to maybe kickstart some of her memories. I do not know. And I will sleep, and then you will rise, and you do the same thing.
I will do my best, Moyo, and I'll relay her the plan and kind of let her just kind of walk around and do her thing.
Brilinya, these people who claim to be your friends are already setting up a protective watch, and you still don't know who they are. How would you be spending your night?
Brilinya is going to be in the farthest corner that she can get within this compound, still not saying anything. She starts to idly draw small sigils in the sand, and you realize that they're in celestial. She's just kind of idly, or in the dirt or this floor, and you see that they make a circle around her, and she's going to cast magic circle around herself.
Dunala will walk to the edge of that circle and sit in front of it, careful not to cross it, and he will say, "Apparently losing your memories has made your magic stronger, Brilinya. This would have been useful yesterday, day before yesterday. I can tell my joke won't make you laugh because you don't know who I am and you cast this to keep me out, but regardless, it would have been helpful."
She just kind of looks up at you briefly, looks back down, and just continues to draw these sigils, making them deeper into the ground.
Would you like some help with that?
She kind of looks at you and she kind of furrows her eyebrows.
Well, I am also skilled in magic. You are skilled in magic. We've had these kinds of conversations before. You don't know this, but you tend to dislike many of my methods of spell casting, and I've went through certain changes to make that more beneficial for you, but I can still assist regardless.
You would see that she would slowly nod, but you can see that she's looking at you very, very intently.
And he'll start taking from his component pouch things that to you would make no sense, especially since you lost your memories. Like random bits of chalk that aren't chalk. It looks like amber or maybe tree sap that like leaves are like lines of saps behind it. Strange roots that smell just like completely off. And of course, Dunala's soaps. He has a lot of soaps he's bringing out of different varieties that he's lying out and everything. And as he's lying out the soaps, he says, "My name is Dunala. Did you know that?" His
No.
name is Vale. Did you know that?
She nods her head slowly.
Oh,
He told me that's
ah,
what his name was.
you got my hopes up for no reason. Well then, so you don't remember anything about either one of us, correct?
No, I don't know anything. I'm sorry.
Allow me to give you a very quick and very brief synopsis from when I met you, and then I'll give you something to read that will help you further understand your situation. I met you folks, and like you'll like go through like the whole like story about like what's been going on as he's helping you set up this spell. And at the end of it, when he gets to the part about when we finally got to the city, I imagine the magic circle's like way been done, and you finished casting it by now. He'll take something out of his robes, and it's this weathered journal, and he kind of shakes it back and forth a little bit, and he says, "If you would like, I could hand this to you. It is more convincing than this old man's tale."
What is it?
It is a journal from a woman that you didn't know. She is dead now, however. You wrote a little bit in here yourself if you would like to see it. And then he'll hand you Cole's journal. He'll stand up after. Go ahead.
Yeah, she would take it.
He'll stand up afterwards and he'll say, "It is a very sad tale that you are about to read, and do not ask your forgiveness in advance, but alas, sometimes the most painful things are the most important for us in life." And then he will walk outside to go take his place and watch Amoya.
And with that, Brilinya would sit down in this circle that she's drawn and is going to kind of lean against the wall and begin reading Cole's journal.
It's like reading it's like reading a piece of fiction. You have a distance as you're reading these stories, yet it's like reading a fiction about people that you've met, even if only briefly, because you can begin to recognize both by name and description some of these others. Though you hear a lot, you see in there a lot of references to a Tortle monk, of which you see no signs. But we'll say, because of the amount of time that's overall going to pass, that you could probably spend enough time in the journal to read through the whole thing before you would eventually drift off to sleep. Somewhere in there, Orvix comes to you having prepared, and he would have prepared for all of you with some of the available dinosaur meat and the abundance of vegetation and things like that. He would have prepared actually a pretty hearty stew with a campfire in a corner of this building. That's pretty tasty and very rich. He just kind of shrugs it off, just like, yeah, it's just a thing that I know how to do. So you all do get a nice hearty meal before or as the sun begins to set. So Vale and Dunala, you've essentially set up, as I understand it. So Moyo, the Commandant, is patrolling the compound, and then you guys are taking turns to do. Are you patrolling also, or are you staying just awake in this building, or what are you doing?
Dunala will do a little bit of both. Like he'll walk around sometimes, go back to the building, walk out a little bit later. He's being more thorough just because we have essentially 2 less people with us now, so he has to be more careful.
How long of shifts would you take?
I imagine an even split, so 4 hours both.
But I mean, would you do like 2 hours at a time, or just 4 hours and 4 hours, or?
What does Vale think?
I would say 4 hours and 4 hours. So I would say, because, you know, if you try and do 2 hours and 2 hours, you get no actual rest. You just get, you know, it just messes up your sleep pattern. So yeah, I would probably, like, I would get Moyo, because Moyo doesn't suffer exhaustion, to travel with you, and then in 4 hours I'd get up and I'd do a perimeter with Moyo as well.
So who is on that last patrol?
That would be me.
Both you and Marquise raise your hands.
Yeah, I thought you were saying who's going first at first.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So Vale, you're taking the patrol that you begin your patrol in the dark of the jungle. Though you found that in this part of Omu, there's not really any like the huge jungle canopy that you've been traveling in for the last several weeks. There's a lot of jungle undergrowth, but this is basically an ancient city that has been overgrown. So there's not massive canopy. So there's, for the first time in a long time, you're seeing an area that is completely illuminated by starlight and moonlight. So there's even without dark vision, there's a fair amount that you can see very well as you're patrolling around. There's also still a lot of shadows, and a lot of the sounds that you've grown accustomed to. It's not unusual to hear throughout the night the distant roar of a dinosaur, to hear the cries somewhere far off of terrafolk protecting their territory, to hear the various night creatures. Every once in a while, you hear something slinking in the underbrush nearby, and you maybe Moyo would rush over to investigate and chase out some night critter that just darts off into the distance. Nothing seems to be too threatening. It's getting to be the point where the sun is just starting to rise. The sun is cresting the horizon, and it's that point of dawn where you previously could see very well by the starlight and the moonlight. Everything is now becoming a mix of either brilliant shades, beginning shades of yellow and orange and red, or black shadow, as the rising sun begins to wash out some of what you were able to see. Give me a perception check as you're on this last part of your patrol.
That's just a 9.
So you're moving, as you're moving through the compound, you are, I imagine as you kind of move along in and out through these handful of buildings, there's about just over half a dozen buildings in this whole compound. And it's pretty much the whole thing is walled in. So I imagine as you're moving in and around these buildings, Maybe Moyo's jumping up on the wall every once in a while and sort of peering over the side. And you're on that north side of the compound, and you're just beginning to make your way through to where you're going to pass by the...
Would Moyo be able to make a...
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's better. So yeah, that's a natural 16 on the die. So I think that's a 21.
As you are just making that pass, another pass by the compound, or rather, not by the compound, but by the building where everybody is sheltering, Moyo stiffens, and I imagine as has just sort of this innate connection between you and Moyo. One or two of the serpents that come off of its shoulders sort of reach out to you, as if a hand is reaching out to steady you and stop you.
Yeah, I'd probably immediately go down on one knee, draw rapier, and look at Moyo.
There doesn't seem to be an immediate sign, as Moyo is sort of looking towards the southwestern corner. She's sort of crouched down that way that cats, even big cats, do. Their shoulder blades kind of rise up. The serpents have all sort of, you can just barely hear that sound as their tongues are tasting the air. And the eyes seem to catch some of that rising glow. And then you hear of twigs and brush breaking. There is, all of a sudden, from over, you hear it sort of rapidly approaching that. As suddenly a form is seen on top of one of the two buildings to the south, which is a one-story building. This form, you hear as you see it, you suddenly hear this just this terrific roar that sounds, it's a sound you've heard before. It's the sound of a Tyrannosaurus Rex breaking the morning silence as this humanoid form leaps down into the clearing near you and seems to be moving towards you, as if with a look over its shoulder, as if it's being chased by something. When it gets to within about 30 feet of you, Vale, and you, Moyo, I would like to know what you do, Qualu.
Qualu is approaching with a determined step, with strong pace, though you cannot see whatever face he may have, for it is covered in some ornate wooden carved mask. His tall form is covered in plates of bronze and brass and bone, forming thick, durable armor. He's got a massive sword clasped to his back. And as he approaches, take me to him. Now.
Who in the nine hells are you?
You're not safe here.
Yeah, it's Chult. I get that. Matter of fact, been getting that since we landed. Who are you?
There's no time for names.
No time for names. Who is it you want to see? Because there's lots of hymns in there. As a matter of fact, there's about like 50 people in there. Huh?
Vale, there are Yanti on my tail. Pun not intended. Take me to Dunala.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you seem like the kind of git you would hang out with. Come on. And I'd turn around and I'd have him. I'd walk to the area.
Move swift.
But I am gonna make sure that I walk beside him, and Moyo's gonna be following behind. So if he tries anything, I'm gonna kill him. Because I mean, Connor can.
And if you move at any kind of like leisurely pace.
Oh, it's not a leisurely pace. It's with a fair bit of with the determination.
Yeah. Koalu will add to it by saying, "Move swifter.
Yeah.
They could be here any moment."
I think I like the bird better. Yeah, it's right through here.
Hey, Vale.
Yep.
Roll me a insight check. Is that I can never remember. Is that a wisdom or intelligence?
That's wisdom. But luckily, I'm like a human lie detector anyway.
Not for you. For Moyo.
Oh, for Moyo.
Yeah.
Shoot, what is Moyo's?
Should be +2.
Yeah. That would be a 12.
Okay. Moyo seems to have a sort of not quite relaxed posture, is watching this figure closely, but doesn't seem to be on edge with the arrival of this figure. So you can't quite tell what she's making of this new.
That's fine. I mean, I'm a player character. I'm automatically a murder hobo. So I'm cool. I'm cool with a little PvP action. But yeah, take him right to the main kind of camp area, and I'll kind of wake Dunala up. If he's not awake already. I'm not sure if he'd be awake already.
Dunala's sleeping, like he's all lounged about. Qualu is used to seeing Dunala sleep, like just completely all over the place. And when you wake him, he moves your hand away, Vale, and he says, "It's been like 3.5 hours."
And Dunala, you see Koalu or some figure, I guess, silhouetted in the doorway to this place with the morning sun behind him.
Who did you bring with you, Vale? Did you bring a Wanti in here now? Is that what we're doing? And he'll start sitting up and rubbing sleep out of his eyes.
And Koalu advances towards you directly, Dunala.
And it's this moment, Vale, that you've never seen Dunala have, that when he does look back up, there's such an expression of shock on his face that you probably would have never thought that Dunala could even feel that kind of emotion. Because he's looking at Qualu like he's literally seen someone who's dead or that he would just never see again in his life. And then he rubbed his eyes again and he'll say, "I know what I smoked before I went to sleep was strong, but not that strong."
And as Qualu approaches you, Dunala, though his face is covered in a mask, he comes step forward, another step closer and closer until he just embraces you in a hug.
And Dunala now standing. He lets you hug him, not sure what to do, feeling more than slightly awkward right now. And then slightly hugging you back and then pushing you away a little, he'll say, "Qualu, is that really you? What are you wearing on your face? How did you get out here? What are you doing here? This is not the docks. You're supposed to be lifting big things and the bigger things, to sail to bigger places where you move more big things on the big things."
He raises a finger. Now is not the time to catch up on pleasantries.
Qualu, it's always a time.
Swarm of Yanti behind me. We are in danger.
There's always a swarm of Wanti behind me. Man, you don't know this. You don't know this. You don't know this. Okay. All right, where are they at? Let's go outside and deal with these.
And I point directly to where I came from with a gauntleted hand.
All right, thank you. What do you get that sword? What did you get the money for? Vale, come here. We'll talk in a moment, Qualu. Vale, come on. Brilinya, are you still? You don't sleep. Did you finish Brilinya, you stay right there. Vale, let's go handle this real quick.
Brilinya, you do have, since you finished reading the journal, you feel like you know Dunala, well, not Dunala, you know Vale better than a few hours before you went to sleep. So your actions are, of course, entirely up to you, regardless of what Dunala tells you. Orvix sort of wakes up in the corner. What is happening?
We're fighting Morwanti. Put like a scarf on so they can't see you.
Just terror in his eyes. I mean, he legit has PTSD from just, for him, was just a few days ago that so many people around him were slaughtered by Yuan-Ti that he immediately gathers some of the like ferns and things like that had been brought in for cover, and just sort of covers himself in the corner, cowering. So who all heads outside?
Kawalu does, and as he does, he says, "I've slain my fair share of Yuan-Ti."
Since when do you kill people, Kwalu? It's been like 6 months, man. What are you saying to me?
All in due time.
Oh my God, here we go with this again. Always all in due time. You would tell me when we were drunk. Kwalu, you're getting on my nerves. You're getting on his nerves, and I'll point to Orvix when I say this.
Brilinya is going to get up from the corner that she's been sitting in, and follow a bit behind the others.
Hearing the mention of Yuan-Ti, the only knowledge you have of Yuan-Ti, Brilinya, are some brief descriptions that Cole had written in her journal. And you would have seen some sketches, just a couple sketches that nearby the description of them, along with the words Dendar, the Night Serpent. You would have seen like a sketch of a face that part of it looks human and part of it is scaled with a serpent's slitted eye. You would have seen a couple less detailed thumbnail sketches of a humanoid figure with the upper torso of a man and the body of a serpent. But you would have also seen one that showed the legs and arms of a man, but with the head of a snake. And there's even one that looks like a humanoid with, instead of arms, it looks like snakes coming off, but this one is scribbled out. And then Vale and Moyo, you're pretty much at the doorway already. So
yeah. Oh.
Nope, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I'd probably rush out with Moyo beside me and have her kind of to the side, ready to attack.
So this is one of those, in my mind, this just appeared. It's this sort of awesome moment where the four of you, the five with Moyo there, you kind of come running out and you kind of move towards this area, the central courtyard area, and you're almost positioning yourself back to back to back, weapons drawn, maybe hints of spells forming at your fingertips, the camera's moving around as you're hearing these sounds, and you're starting to hear the sounds of movement, and you're hearing it come from seemingly all different directions. And so I would like you all, including Moyo, to make perception checks.
11.
Do you have an 11 too, Dunala?
At 10.
A 10? Brilinya?
I beat you once again.
12.
Vale?
Okay, so Moyo got a dirty 20. And I got a 7. Because, God, I suck. It's going to be one of those type of rolls.
All right. Based on my rolls, you don't know where they're coming from exactly, but you know that something is coming. And that is where I would like you guys to roll initiative.
I'm so glad I can't be surprised. That would be sad. Ooh, finally a good initiative roll. Got 24, excuse me.
I got a 20. I was like, oh, I'm
Hold
going to
on.
beat Marcus again.
Now I'll beat you again.
Hold on a minute. All right, what'd you get, Vale?
All right, so I got an 8 because, you know, it's morning, I guess. And, oh, well, that's not bad. And a 16 for Moyo.
All right, Dunala.
24.
Brill.
18.
And Kualu.
20.
Okay, so here is the order. Dunala is going to go first. Kualu is going to go second. Something is going to go third. Brill is going to go fourth. Moyo fifth. Vale sixth. Something's going to go after Vale. All right. Dunala. You can hear sounds coming from different directions. What would you like to do? It definitely sounds like big enough for humanoids to be moving through the underbrush and scaling the walls and buildings.
So first, Dunala says 2 things. He says, first off, make sure we leave at least one alive for me to talk to afterwards. And also, no matter what you do during this fight, do not look up. And when Dunala says this, he will lift his left hand into the sky. And then you will see that he's holding in his left hand a very polished piece of amber, so polished as reflective. And then you hear this eagle screech coming from the distance. And from where the rock fell earlier, just days ago, it actually rises up, but not the rock, a form of the rock made of light, pure, shining, burning light. And it will fly into the sky and then crash 120 feet above where Dunala is. I'm casting a wall of light 120 feet above me, forming that wall of light above me. Anyone who looks up to see the wall of light will have to make a Constitution saving throw, will be blinded, and there's other effects too, but those will come out as the battle progresses.
Bringing out the big guns.
Yes, sir.
Bright light out to 120 feet.
Yep. And then Dunala will use his movement to step back inside of the building, so that way he has a little bit of cover if they start shooting arrows or something.
I am going to make insight checks to determine if anybody is going to. What's the DC of your spell?
16.
Nope. 20. One looks up. Out of how many you don't know. So this thing is blinded. So as you cast that wall of light, you do hear something falter nearby. It's already inside the compound. As it begins. That wouldn't have mattered if that bumps your DC up, to 17. The lowest I rolled on any one of the dice was a 17.
Oh, they got
except for the
discipline.
one that failed.
We must break their discipline.
So, you definitely know that these things, whatever they are in the compound, is there anything else you're going to do?
Other than taking some cover back in the compound, it's going to end my turn.
All right. Qualu. Roll me a... Give me a perception check with advantage.
It's going to be a 16.
So you know from your, as you were running in here this way, and you were in pursuit by these things, and you managed to leave them behind, you're pretty sure that there is somewhere between, there's as many as 6, but at least 3 or 4 Yuan-ti that are heading this way.
He's going to be scanning the horizon essentially for these any kind of forms peering over the walls or the canopy of trees. As he unfurls from his back, just a long, slender bow. As he strings it, he tosses some arrows, sticking them into the ground, and readies his bow, I guess. And as soon as he sees any Yuan-ti peek out, he's going to let loose with some arrows.
Okay, so you're holding...
There's a ready bead. Yeah, readying my attack action.
Excellent. I'm going to see which direction this thing from. To the north. You hear that sound of something dropping to the ground, just coming off of one of the buildings. And you see a humanoid form stand up. And you can just make out in the light that as it stands up, it seems to be a normal humanoid size, but its arms are moving unnaturally at its side. And that would be about 30 feet away. So that would be your trigger your held action, Qualu, as the first Yuan-ti has entered the fray.
So I got an 18 and a 22 with my longbow attacks.
And those will both hit.
This will be a total of 12 piercing. It'll be 9 and 3 if that matters.
Okay. And you see it sort of stagger back against the building as it takes the hits. But it doesn't get dropped. Now that one of them is in the area, Brill, oddly, this thing seems to be similar to the very sketch that was crossed out in Cole's book, as you can see that this appears to be a dark-skinned, very muscular man with serpents instead of arms. From the shoulder to the hand is serpents.
So she's kind of looking on just a bit away from where they are standing, kind of preparing for this, and she's looking from them to this Yuan-ti and to the sound around it, and she sees the resolve in their expressions. And I think, like, to her, she has no memory of being in any sort of fight or anything like that. So she begins to hyperventilate almost. She begins to breathe very rapidly, and her hands begin to shake, and she's looking, eyes darting so quickly, and you can almost, all of you begin to hear her breath And every time she exhales, you hear a tremor in the earth. And it becomes more and more just aggressive until in between the three of you and this Yanti, you see this form begin to rise up from the ground, kind of shaking and moving and forming with the rhythm of her breath. And to her, it doesn't look like anything familiar, but something in her subconscious that is not being let out into her forefront has conjured this. And it looks like Vorn, if Vorn was made out of earth. And
which only Dunala and Vale would know.
Mhm.
And just as a reminder, Vorn was the shield guardian that you guys had found, and wound up ultimately had left at Camp Vengeance. And just a quick domain dice reminder, shout out to Chesic Student in the chat who just dropped a total of 500 bits, giving you guys another domain devil, as this seems like an awesome flavoring of what I believe is you just summoned an earth elemental.
I did. So this thing is going to roll initiative now.
Right. And just a quick note, we did at the end of last session, these characters reached level 9. So this is a key level for a lot of characters, and new abilities start unlocking. So
that is going to be a 17 on the initiative die.
that is going to, I'm just going to try to remember this. It actually will go just before you. That puts it right before your one before your initiative.
Okay.
It is now Moyo's turn. Now, I believe Moyo, I don't have it up anymore, but I believe Moyo has advantage on perception checks versus or using smell, correct? Vale?
Sorry, say again.
I believe Moyo has advantage on perception checks.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. She has anything with sight or smell, actually, or hearing. Yeah. So basically, yeah, just advantage in general.
Oh, yeah. Are you sure on the site? I only see keen smell. Unless that's an added feature for the steed. It's weird because we blended fine steed with the Commodon.
I'm looking at the stat block. There we go for Moyo, and yeah, it just says keen senses, multi attack. What do you have under multi attack? Just so we're on the same, because I've got 1 bite, 2 claw, and 3 snake attacks.
I've got 2 attacks, one with its bite or claw, and one with its snakes.
I must have the wrong.
Nope. Hold on, because I'm using. I just want to verify that this is.
If you're using Chult, then we'll use the Chult one, because this one must be like way off.
Yeah, that one's off. It only has keen smell, not keen senses.
Seen.
And
Okay.
it only has, you can either, for the multi-attack, it can either attack one with bite or claw and one with its snakes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, what do you have for to hit bonuses?
+5.
Okay, that's good. So anyway, I do want you to make have Moyle make a perception check at advantage, using that sense of smell.
Ooh, I'll take that. That's a 21.
And it's been a while since we've had Moyo involved, which is why I wanted to just double check on some of the stat stuff. So So with that perception check, you would see Moyo would actually not be paying super close attention to the Yuan-Ti that has already sort of entered the fray, but is sort of looking around to the west and to the south. And the hackles are raised. The serpents seem to be equally moving in different directions, sort of as it seems to be her head as she's looking. There's something else out there. There is still the one that's the only one visible, but there's definitely more out there. And you now know they're coming from west and south as well.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm thinking Moyo would probably go after the nearest, like, regardless of anything, she'd go after the nearest Yuan-Ti enemy.
All right.
And she will make an attack. So, first one, she'll make a claw attack. That's a 13 to hit.
Hit.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't think that was going to hit. And that'll be 7 points of slashing damage.
All right.
And then one of her snakes will zip out and take a chomp, but misses because that's only a 7 to hit, which does not hit.
All right. And you immediately follow Moyo.
Yeah, I would do that.
So what's Vale going to do?
I'm gonna follow through with Moyo. Imagine after like Moyo's snake kind of like reels back after missing. Vale, who already has his rapier out, I would probably run up, do a hand plant off of Moyo's back, and then just come straight over with with the rapier just coming straight into attack. And oh my. Not only is that a hit, but I'm going to make that a divine smite.
All right.
So I need one of these, and oh god, no. Nope, one of these. There we go. All right, so that will be 8 points of, 15 points of magical piercing damage, and another 8 points of radiant damage, for a total of 23.
You can see and you even hear these sort of snapping sounds as its snake hands, as you're attacking it, are sort of snapping at the air near your face as you strike in to this thing, opening up wounds on its otherwise human chest. Was that it?
No, because I have a second attack.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap indeed. Oh, no, wait. You said if a 13 hit, then a 15 has to hit.
Yep.
Okay. And this won't be a this will just be straight up. That'll still be... Let me just double check on something here. And that'll still be another 12 points of piercing damage.
This this Yuan-Ti is in very bad shape. He definitely came to the wrong neighborhood. He's not dead yet, but yeah. You've really messed with his day. That's for sure.
I'm okay with that. I'm so okay with that. All right, and then that is the end of my turn. My turn.
All right. So that was Vale. From the south, something emerges from between the buildings, one of which is the partially destroyed building that you found Orvix Okramus buried in. But you don't hear footsteps so much as you hear the shifting of debris and gravel as a humanoid form emerges, but with a serpentine body as he slithers into this area. Moving into the area, you see that he carries a scimitar, and he is going to slither in very rapidly, as I give a shout out to Star19, who just tipped $5, purchasing you guys yet another domain die. That up there. For some reason. There we go. Okay. So he's gonna slide in, and you guys are all sort of in this central area. No, you're not, because Vale and Moyo ran over the deal directly. So it's Qualu, Brilinya, and Dunala that are still sort of in that central area.
I'm in the building.
What's that?
I moved into the building.
Oh, you moved into the building.
Yeah.
Qualu is getting attacked as this thing comes slithering in to make 2 scimitar attacks against you. The first attack is a 13.
Will not hit.
And the second one, it comes in very quickly towards you. It swings its scimitar too early, and it begins to move past you as it tries to take the second swipe. Completely, it just came in overzealously. That was a natural 1, which in my games will a lot of times, as in this time, grant you a attack of opportunity against it as it has opened itself up.
So I would like to, seeing it like kind of almost trip in front of me, I've got these arrows set up. Can I just like give it a nice push down and like impale it on an arrow that's sticking out? That's my opportunity attack. Just flavoring it as, an arrow attack or something. Or do you want me to just do an unarmed strike as I just kick the guy?
I'll absolutely allow you to do that. You'll make a grapple check.
Gotcha. Well, that's something he's really good at too. All right. That's going to be a total of 24.
That beats my 9. So yeah, as he comes by and swings this sword wide, you just sort of are able to just move in and grab hold of him and use his own momentum and shove him down. I'm gonna say roll a d6 to determine how many of these arrows
All right.
are able to do damage.
Roll the 3.
Okay, so that's 3 points of piercing damage, and you lose 3 arrows that break as he is impaled on them.
Nice.
Because he's getting impaled on the flight end of the arrows as they were sticking in the ground. So nice improvised there. So that was his turn. You do see as another one emerges from the other side of the building. This one has a bow, and it raises the bow with the arrow knocked, and it's listening and you can see it as it's moving the bow, sort of. It seems to move back and forth, kind of moving past your group. And Dunala, you would probably recognize that this one seems to have been blinded by your Wall of Light spell. So it will be attacking into the group at disadvantage. And it's going to attack in Qualu's general direction because he just made the most commotion. That's going to be a 15 with disadvantage.
15 hits.
And his second shot is going to be a 14.
14 misses.
Okay, so just the first one will hit you. So just in that moment where you make the sound as you slam this thing down, you take 5 points of piercing damage as an arrow finds its place in you, and then you hear that sort of, as you react to that impact, you hear that as another one zings past your head. And then over the west wall, 2 more of these creatures emerge. Dunala, you now know, you're the only one that knows this, but you now know, as I'm sure Marquise knew all along, that these are Yuan-Ti Malisons that often present themselves, and I would say even Qualu knows this, that they present themselves in different types. And these 2 that have come over the wall are the humanoid type with snake heads, scales going down their shoulders. And as they come over the wall, they are going to take shots at Vale. And Dunala, did you go all the way inside the building?
Yeah, I'm taking full cover this round and then peeking back
Okay.
out like a small thing.
So they are going to take a shot at Dunala, or at Vale and Brilinya. So Vale does, where'd it go? Does a 16 hit Vale?
No, it does not.
How about, no, then definitely not a definitely not a 11.
Oh, that one hits. I just didn't want the
So,
16 to.
2 arrows go zipping past you, landing in the either clattering off the stone or landing in the ground next to you. Brilinya, that is a critical fail and a 2. Wow, those hot dice I had at the beginning are gone. As these arrows just completely miss you. But you now basically can see all 5 of these Yuan-Ti Malisons that have entered the fray. And we are back at the top of the order with Dunala. And you now see all of your enemies.
So Dunala has peeked his head out, and he's looking at each part of the battlefield, assessing what's going on. He sees Moyo and Vale handing someone. He sees the 2 on the wall. His eyes focus on Brilinya for a second and watch her cast her spell. And he nods his head, and then he looks to you, Qualu, and he's watching you very intently to see what your reactions are like as you're being shot at and as you're fighting. He's trying to grasp what kind of person his best friend has become in these last 6 months. So what is Qualu like right now as he's fighting?
As this arrow wing just whizzed by, it kind of grazed him, and he kind of reflexively put his finger up to it because it drew blood. He kind of like just checked for poison right off the bat, and saw, I mean, whatever, you know, the answer from Jake is yes or no on poison. But he's thrown down the bow, and he's like getting this massive greatsword, which I'll describe in a moment, ready to beat this guy up.
No, you just got struck by a regular arrow.
Nice, yeah.
Dunala doesn't nod his head or make any kind of like verbal like sound as he watches you, right? But then eventually his eyes turn to the two Malisons who are standing on the wall, and he thinks to himself that the Wanti have not sent in their abominations or Ubtao, behold, the anathema yet. But he does not think that they are trying to all out kill them at the moment. And so Dunala decides he will respond to this show of force with an even greater show of force. And he will look up to the wall. He won't look up to the light, but he'll raise a hand to the light and then lower his hand towards one of the Malisons on the wall. And you will hear an exploding screech of sound, the eagle cry of the rock again, as the light around this Malison will begin to grow brighter and brighter and brighter. I'm assuming that so I rolled a 19 plus 9 to hit with this attack. My student's going to hit.
No, that misses. Of course it hits. Which one? Which one was it?
It's one of the Malisons on the wall, either one. It's going to take 21 points of radiant damage as it literally is engulfed in just a beam of light that comes down from the wall above it, striking it, sending and cascading feathers everywhere, but then it disappears and it fades away, that particular beam. And the wall gets just a little bit smaller.
All right. That then takes us to Qualu.
So Qualu is facing off with this eager Yuan-ti with a scimitar. He's tossed aside his longbow. He sees that he's drawn blood with those impalings of the arrow, and he just rests from its resting place on his back. This massive sword. It looks to be made of some dull gray metal, and carved into it is like a maze of geometric shapes, and it has this handle that's made of some kind of huge bone wrapped with kind of leather. And as he hefts it, he makes no audible sound but just a grunt as he just heaves it, and then a sweeping motion as well, attacking twice. This is going to be a 22 and a 25 to hit.
Absolutely.
All right, this is going to be. Oh, re-roll that.
I'm assuming that's a great weapon master or something like that. Or are you just randomly re-rolling?
Yeah, I'm just randomly.
If you don't like the dice where they land, you just re-roll them.
I got the weapon style. You undid my math here. Sorry. 14 plus 16 is 30 points between the two strikes.
Wow.
It was a. If you want to know the individuals, it was a 14 and a 16.
What does it look like? Because this is the first time we're seeing Qualu. So what does Qualu look like as he hefts this incredible sword and just starts carving into this Yuan-ti Malison?
You hear like the bits of like his kind of like his collarbone kind of just pop a bit as he kind of just rests this huge leverage, and you just realize how much of a mountain of muscle this guy is. He towers over probably all of you, and has a torso that could make Dwayne the Rock Johnson cry. And just hefts it, and he makes this huge like sparks and shatters as it's not only does it cut through the scales of the Yuan-ti, but it strikes into the stone and into the dirt, and even causes bits of the stone to just like chip away with each strike as he's just like obliterating both the ground and the Yuan-ti in front of him.
Excellent. The Yuan-ti that Vale and Moyo are engaged with is going to lash out at Vale with both of his snake arms. So that's going to be... I'll tell you what. That was a flash fire that I had at the beginning of the game. These dice went cold fast.
I'm not complaining.
That's a 15 and an 11 to hit.
Neither one. 18 is the magic number.
Yeah, so it's just snapping and he's hurt very badly, and he can't seem to. He's at this point he's leaning his back against the building. The blood is flowing freely from his body, and he's just got nothing. Which takes us to Brilinya. At this point, there are a total of 5 Yuan-Ti Malisons.
Okay. So I believe it's the Vorn elemental.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. It is the Vornamental. I forgot that thing was, I don't know how, but I forgot there was a giant earth elemental in the middle here.
So this thing is going to start charging towards the gate, or the wall, sorry.
All right, that is where the 2 snake-headed Malisons are.
Yes.
Okay.
And is it able to get to them 30 feet in a movement?
Yeah, this compound, if you remember, is not very big. You guys were already kind of in the middle area.
Right, so you just hear these crazy pounding steps as this earth elemental takes these long strides towards these Yuan-Ti. And as it does so, it just makes these sweeping punches, these slams with its arms, very, very similar and very reminiscent of how Vorn fought. And so that is going to be an 11 and a 24 to hit.
Are you attacking one or both?
One.
Okay. In either case, the 11 is going to miss, but the 24 absolutely catches it.
And that is going to do 19 points of damage.
Were you attacking the one... I'm trying to remember who hit this. Oh, the one that got hit by radiant light, or the one that hadn't?
I'm not sure, whichever one, unless they were both at the same area.
They were pretty much in the same area.
Okay, so then probably the one that wasn't hit yet.
All right, and that was how many points?
19.
All right. Yeah, it seems to quickly and easily dodge seeing that first punch come, but did not anticipate the second punch. And it gives an audible ooh as it's hit, and sort of I'll even say nope, it manages to stay up on the wall. It did not get knocked off. Now it's your turn, Brilinya.
So there's kind of like these 3 different areas where the Yuan-Ti are, right?
Yep, so I'll bring the map screen in again, just as a quick reminder. So looking at that compound area, they're sort of coming from the left, the west. The 2 are on the wall. The 2 snake-bodied ones which are type 3s, are coming in from the bottom. And then, well, one of them is right there engaged with Qualu. And then the only type 2 with the snake arms is up against that building there on the northern edge that Moyo and Vale have well in hand.
So you see Brilinya, she's holding on to this bow. More like a security blanket or a teddy bear than an actual weapon. She's just kind of like clutching onto it, and she's looking from one scene to another, kind of seeing that all of these points are pretty well covered, and she just looks very, very unsure of herself. And so I think what she's going to do is she's going to ready an action if anyone needs, if anyone gets injured because that's what she knows how to do. She knows if someone gets injured, she knows to heal them, and that's so you can see that I almost imagine like when her scars kind of glowed and move. Now with these mithril veins underneath, it's the same thing except it's more obvious, more iridescent, and she's just nervously looking from one person to the next while these things on her arms just move with magic. So she's going to hold an action.
So you are holding a heal.
Yes.
Excellent. Moyo is up, and you've got the type 2 Malison up against the ropes. By ropes, I mean wall.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking that Moyo is just going to attack again. Try and finish this individual off. This time, Moyo is going to just like bite down on this guy, and that would be a 21 to hit.
Yes.
Okay. Oops. Nice, and that'll be 11 points of piercing damage. And while she's like biting on, I think the snake, one of the snakes will like shoot out and like try and also be a big jerk about things on this fella. And that would be a 14 to hit.
So she sort of just latches on to this thing, getting a good bite. It defensively puts up one of its snake arms. Moyo gets a bite on this arm and is holding Moyo. He's holding Moyo at bay, but the arm is just about ripped off. And with a sudden, just primal jerk of her head, Moyo rips to the side. And as she turns, just one serpent latches in right at the Malison's throat, and when it draws back, there's just this gaping hole where its throat was as it collapses to the ground. The bite did exactly 1 point below its what it needed to take it out.
Nice.
So that is the type that particular Malison eliminated.
So
type 2. Sorry, I got confused here.
Is there another Malison that is like close by that I could reach on foot, or like scanning the battlefield? Okay, so
there's the type 3 that Qualu. I keep wanting to say Eric. That Qualu is engaged with, sort of in that central area. That would be the closest one.
All right, then I'll probably have Moyo kind of rush off in that direction towards it, and going on to my turn, I would probably do the same thing. Rush off. Now, would I be able to hit? Like, would I be able to get to this individual?
Yeah.
Like in one shot. Perfect. Then I'll do just that. And
as you run to the one that I'm engaged with, Vale, Qualu will yell at you. I got this. Get another one.
Yeah. Your request has been taken under advisement, and I'm gonna keep running towards it.
All right. Yeah, so you can absolutely get to it and make an attack, or any attacks you have.
Great. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cast Cure Wounds on the enemy. So just to totally screw with Qualu to show that he didn't really do anything. No, that's a jerky move. See if there's any spells here worth no, Actually, there isn't. So, yeah, I'll just make a couple of attacks. First one is a 17, and that'll just be a regular.
Yeah, that's absolutely a hit.
Cool. And that'll be 9 points of piercing damage. And then the second attack. Ooh. So the second attack is going to be a 22 to hit.
Yep.
And this one will be a divine smite. So give me a second. I just got to adjust my spell slots. Oops. And that'll be 14. Let me just double check here. So that'll be 14 points of piercing and 9 points of radiant damage on top of.
How many total points did you just do? I got the first 9, but just in this turn, this action.
So the first one, it would be 14 points of piercing damage, and then 9 points of radiant damage on top of the 14, and that was in that turn.
Okay.
So a total of, if you really want to get technical, 23 points of piercing damage and 9 points of radiant damage for both attacks.
So after Qualu tells you he's got this, you just make a smart-ass comment, come in and start carving as radiant light is imbuing your weapon, and with a final strike of your weapon, the radiant flash of your attack dissipates, and you see Qualu just looking at you as you have eliminated this Malison. You just shrug at him.
Oops. All right, well, cool. I mean, that's my turn. I'll do a Han Solo shrug.
All right. Let's see. So that is unveils. Marquise, on the blinding from the wall of light, how long does that last, or is there a saving throw again on that?
It makes a saving throw at the end of every turn.
So I did not make it. It's DC 17, correct?
DC 17, yeah.
So its last turn, it did not make it. And it is the blinded one's turn again. This time, there's a new opponent in the middle, as it makes a disadvantaged arrow attack at Brilinya, Vale, or Qualu. The second attack is, man, they suck. Another critical fail. As this thing just he can't do jack. And that's a wisdom save. Is that a wisdom save on the blindness?
Sorry, I was muted. It's Constitution.
Nope. A 15. So he still is blinded. 1, 2. Okay. Thinking how many times he's attacked at those guys. The two on the wall. The one is going to run along the wall, drop down. He's only going to run about 10 feet. And drop down into the encampment. Brilinya, are you watching as you're watching everything happening, are you watching your elemental, or are you watching the guys fighting nearby you? Brilinya? Megan, are you frozen?
She is watching the elemental. No.
Whoa, that was
Here.
weird.
Oh no! Hello.
Okay, we got you, but
Hello.
you were frozen, and then I heard she's watching the elemental. It came through like really fast.
She's watching the elemental.
Sorry, it legitimately, based on your screen being frozen, looked like you were completely watching a different game. You couldn't hear us.
Yeah, she's just playing Magic over on the other screen.
I think she's frozen again.
Yeah, she's just playing Magic.
So she was watching the elemental.
And the football game, apparently.
And Netflix. Don't forget Netflix. Yeah.
So there's a good chance we might... Everything might go scrambled here a minute if Megan has to end up restarting or...
It's interesting how her internet is...
I know, you guys
wonky,
are
I'm
on the
fine.
same internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird though because Connor, your internet is showing
It's
up as like
consistent.
yellow, like it's
Yeah,
showing
mine-
up as like problematic, and it's like really, I mean, you're coming in clearly and really well. So,
All right, there's Megan back again.
oh, you're not on the same internet. Oh, that's weird. How?
No, we're not. We're not on the same. So sometimes it.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
All right, well, so Brilinya, keeping sort of a general eye over in the area of the elemental, would see as one of the two snake-headed Malisons, as he sort of jumps off the wall, he doesn't so much jump as he sort of elongates, and a giant snake ends up landing on the ground and begins slithering somewhere, slinking in the shadows. The other one is going to reactively, I think he's just going to drop his bow and take his attacks at the elemental. So hopefully Megan will be able to tell me if I hit or do any damage. I'm going to guess that 2 6s, so 12 and 12, probably don't hit an earth elemental. Let's...
No, they don't. Before I freeze.
Yeah, AC 17. Yeah, they miss. Whoa, is that... So the elemental you summon is a straight up earth elemental, right? Holy crap. I'm looking at their hit
Straight
points.
up challenge 5 earth elemental.
That is the longest
Yeah.
anybody has ever taken to say the word elemental.
Elemental.
Oh man. Yeah, with that, those two actions, that's the end of that round. And that takes us back to the top of the order.
Dunala is seeing that one of these Wanti has dropped down and turned to a snake. Could Dunala run out into the courtyard and see if he can see where the snake is slithered to?
Yes.
Right. Dunala would do that. And once he's found the snake, because he understands that if any one of these things get away, it's a problem, even though he's pretty sure they're still being watched regardless. He will run out and then he will extend his hand towards the snake. And above him, the wall of light will completely just kind of shatter, as if like a stone went through a window. You hear that breaking of glass and the screeching of an eagle. And then that light is gone. And as everything gets darker, Dunala moves that power through him and towards the snake. And it's going to need to make a DC 17. Let me check the save real quick. Strength check.
Strength check.
Oh, actually, it's a contested strength check between its strength and my spell casting ability modifier. I'm casting one of my big boy spells.
All right, I'm going to grab a die that is not the ones that have been rolling 1.
All right.
You're a big boy now.
So I have a 17 plus 9. So 26 total.
26 total.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can beat that even with a nat 20.
Perfect.
Which I just rolled. I'm not even kidding. I just rolled a nat 20.
Ooh.
Uh,
Beat it?
No, it's a 23. But I just thought it was funny. I said I couldn't beat it with a nat 20, and then I rolled a nat 20. So what a way to waste the heat on that die. All right, so what happens?
So Dunala holding his hand out, he will pull his hand back to his chest. As he does so, the snake is lifted off of the ground and it will come flying back to him by 30 feet. I've casted telekinesis on it. So not only is it telekinetically paralyzed by me until the end of its next round, assuming it beats my check, it is also 30 feet closer now.
So in order to run out into the middle, to where you saw this, and then you pull it towards you, that would actually pull it right up to you if that's what you intend to do.
That works. So I'll pull it to little Dunal will pull it to him, and he will wrap the snake around the same arm as casting telekinesis with.
So this isn't just a snake. This is like a snake that's like the size of like a giant.
Oh, I thought it had changed shape into something smaller. If not, okay, my bad.
It's it's a medium-sized snake, so it's not like a giant snake, but it's probably like the size of a good-sized boa.
Oh, okay, perfect. So yeah, I'm gonna bring it to me then, and just basically not like wrap it around me, but like coil it around where Dunala is standing.
Okay.
And it is paralyzed there.
All right. So that's this one. Okay. Perfect. So that is now Walu, you're up.
So there are 3 of these Wanti left, correct? The snake one that's paralyzed, the blind one, and then the one that's punching the earth elemental?
Yes.
Well, Qualu kind of looks and sees Dunala with his magic. He sees the blind one, and the blind one is up. Is it up on top of that wall?
No, it's actually at ground level to the south. Just in front of a building. It had kind of come out from between these 2 buildings and has been shooting at you from there.
All right. Is it within 30 feet?
Absolutely.
He will run up to it and just keep hefting this greatsword and just clobber it. If it's blind, do I have advantage on this attacks?
No, blindness only gives it disadvantage on its attacks.
Gotcha. All right. 2 attacks here. I got a 29 and a 20. No, that can't be right. 29 and 21. Okay. Yeah. Do those hit?
Yeah. Oh, I was incorrect. Attack rolls against the creature do have advantage.
Okay, let's
So you can re-roll to see if you get a crit.
And that's not a crit. All right. So super high numbers. Actually ended up being a 29 and a 28. I don't get to re-roll those, damn it. So that's going to be 9 plus 8, 17 on the first and 17 on the second for a total of 34.
Good Lord. I imagine that as Qualu moves with these heavy sort of deliberate running steps, there's almost this, you can hear the weight of this greatsword being just carving through the air.
In fact, even with the carvings in the blade, it actually causes it to like scream as I swing it, to just make this terrifying, almost like a I want to say like a pteranodon call, but something that like a dire pteranodon call, something that's even more terrifying. And it is this like ear-piercing screech sound.
And that is how in canon that Connor has made it so he can never stealth kill with this sword.
Yeah, no, I have a very bad stealth, and that's fine.
And I just looked up and realized none of you are where you belong. Megan must have popped out and popped in. It's all good. We know who everybody is. So
I'm still Qualu, so
all right, so that was both of your attacks.
Yeah,
that guy's dead, so it is now Brilinya's turn. So you'd sort of burned that. You burned that held action, unless you just want to continue holding it. I mean, you don't burn any spells slots or anything like that, but the whole round went by without anything triggering your held action.
Yeah, I still think that everyone just appears as though they're doing a great job, and Brilinya has she is just as uncomfortable with fighting as she was at first level, so she doesn't know what to do. But the Earth Elemental is going to try to hit that Yanti that's trying to attack it.
Excellent. And I don't know why, but every time I hear Earth Elemental, in my head, I hear, just like in Back to the Future, I hear the Earth Angel song. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, that sort of 50s
Yes,
golden
you're old.
oldie song. Yeah.
You're really freaking old. That's cool. We're actually pretty much close to the same age anyway. So, hey, speaking of which, very, very sad news. Dale Dickey? No, Dale. Oh, this is gonna bug me now. The guy who basically made whatchamacallit, the Miserloo. He did the guitar for the Miserloo. He passed away today. It's kind of sad.
I literally have no idea what you're talking about.
Like, really, from Pulp Fiction, like that really famous Dick Dale. There we go. The Miserloo. No, like that famous surf guitar from Pulp Fiction. The guy
yeah. I got you. Okay.
That. Yeah,
okay.
The guy who wrote that song, he passed away. And Megan, don't tell me you never saw Pulp Fiction, because if that's the case, then you're out of here. You're out.
I actually have seen Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
I actually have. So.
Okay. Lucky.
Like first time a few months ago. So.
Hey, that's cool. Better late than never.
So that's a 19 and a 21 to hit.
Absolutely.
And that's going to do 23 points of damage. As this Vornamental just crushes this Yanti.
With the last hit, that second hit, it actually goes flying backwards off the wall, and takes another point of bludgeoning damage. It is knocked backwards off the wall into the jungle. And then it is your turn, Brilinya.
Yeah, so she's just gonna continue holding that heal action.
Okay. So then it's now Moyo and Vale that are in the middle, with a dead Malison at your feet. Balu's already run off to deal with the blind Malison.
I'm totally tempted to be a jerk and go after that one. Finish it off. And it's like, come on, Qualu, keep up, man.
I love an automatic Vale Qualu rivalry.
No, I'm not going to play that game.
But it is Moyo's go at this point, and Dunala's pretty much right nearby in the middle, using light to entrap a giant snake, apparently.
And he will raise his hand if Moyo, when you look over here, Vale, and he says, I will be interrogating this one, Vale. Like we tried to do the last 6 times.
I'll just kind of raise my hands and I'll look for the other one or any other ones. Because I remember there was one on the wall.
There's one on the wall that's fighting that. Well, actually, no, you don't see any of them. Give me a perception check.
Sure.
For both you and Moyo.
With advantage?
No, there's too much blood and Malisons to do that, but.
Well, it'll be a 14 for me. And an 8 for Moyo, I guess.
Moyo, Moyo didn't see it, but you did. That as the Earth Elemental was battling the one on the wall, it sent it over the wall outside the compound.
Okay.
And it's about 30 feet to that wall.
All right. I'll probably send Moyo over to the wall.
Let's
Just have her wait there.
real quick, let's get Mike, Marquise, and Megan to flip your cameras off. It's actually starting to confuse people. Megan, I think once Marquise is off, it goes Megan first, then Mike, then Marquise. There you go. Yeah, our friend Prupra just popped in and was confused, and I was starting to get confused. I know who you all are, and it was still messing with the OCD in me. So yeah, as I was saying, you can see the you saw that where that one got knocked off. It's about 30 feet to the wall. So I don't know if you were saying you were going to do anything about that or what you were going to do.
So what I was going to do is I'm going to send, well, actually both Moyo and myself are going to run to the wall and then hold an attack action. If it tries to, or if that Yuan-Ti tries to get back up on the wall.
Excellent.
As a matter of fact, actually, that's exactly, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
How tall is the wall? Just really quick.
The wall is 10 feet.
Okay.
So let's see. It is the blinded Malison's turn. The blinded Malison totally sounds like it would be an NPC that's a part of the Weeping Friars. It really does. I'm just looking to see what he is. A type 3.
I would make the come at me motion, but he's blind, so that doesn't work.
Yeah, he totally wouldn't see that. Ooh.
I'd hope so. I'd hope so, because that means he wouldn't actually be blind, and then I'm like, oh no. Got duped.
Okay. This is going to be at disadvantage, so I'm not going to use that die.
He's picking his dice based on.
I have literally every green die that I own sitting in this tray right now, and they're all looking to get put in dice jail after tonight.
Yeah. Be gone, foul dice. Get out of here.
So this blinded Malison attempts to you see its lower half that is made of this sort of snake body. It sort of lunges at you, and you see a bit of a twist in its body, but it misjudges and completely misses you. And it fails its save. It is still blinded. So that's his turn. The one on the wall is going to... I think he's going to take an attack of opportunity from the elemental as he leaps off the wall. So as he's leaping off the wall to get away from this thing, make your attack with the elemental.
That's an 18 to hit.
Yep.
For 16 points of damage.
Ooh. Okay. So I gotta... Okay. So we'll see how this works out here. So that's gonna be a disadvantage. He leaps off of the wall. His scimitar is drawn, and he looks like he's gonna... You can see it as he's turning, like he's gonna make a mad dash for you, Brilinya. As he leaps off the wall, sort of doing that walking through air thing, the elemental in slow motion comes around and just hits him from behind, right in the back. You see his body arch the scimitar goes flying. It opens its mouth, its snake mouth, as it is struck. It hits the ground, and as it hits the ground, its lower jaw is ripped backwards, tearing it open, as there's a smear along the ground of blood as this now dead Malison slides to a halt at your feet. It failed its athletics check to jump off the wall and took the extra bludgeoning damage from the fall was just enough to kill it after that hit. So that puts us back to Dunala.
Dunala is looking over his shoulder, seeing the battle finish, and then he looks back to the Yuan-Ti in front of him. And he says to his Yuan-Ti, not in Chultan or in Common, but in their own shared tongue, that mixture of Abyssal and Draconic. He says to it quite frankly, "We are very practical people. You will take me to see Raz in the sea." And then after finishing that, he will lift his hand into the air. And as he does so, the Yuan-Ti itself will also be lifted 30 feet upwards into the air as well. And Dunala will ready an action. That is, if it attempts to open its mouth and say anything that's not, let me rephrase that. If it opens its mouth to say anything that he might think is a suggestion spell, he's going to cast Blight on it at 5th level. And he also says out loud to you, Vale, if this Yuan-Ti begins to talk and I begin to act a little bit funny, kill it somehow, please.
Right. And I'll walk over with purpose. Rapier is still drawn, so I'll basically just resting the point of the rapier on my boot, and I'm just kind of watching and waiting.
Qualu, you still got the
and
blind. You got the blind Malison you're dealing with.
let's try and dispatch this snake man. So that's going to be a critical, and then that's going to be a 22.
They will both hit.
All right, so let's just see how this critical goes. So that's going to be 18, 26, 30, 35, 37, 45 points of damage from the critical.
So there's nothing left.
So it's a kill move.
This is a kill move.
All right, I stomp on it like it's blind. I stomp and push its body to the ground. Now I'm pinning it with my foot. I've got my greatsword poised over its neck, and I look to Dunala.
Dunala looks back to you, and he doesn't say anything. In fact, he just keeps staring at you to see what you're going to do.
Do you need this one?
No.
And he just thrusts the tip of this blade and severs this Yuan-Ti from the neck down, and just is a clean just chop, or I guess like a thrust, and just like sever its head. And then I kind of kick the body out from underneath my boot, and it kind of rolls over.
As this now dead Malison sort of slumps its own dead weight, sort of sinking down after you kick it. Brilinya, the earth elemental, just sort of looks at you. There's that just creaking, crunching sound of stone as its body turns. It looks at you. It points in the direction that the other Yuan-Ti got knocked off the wall and just sort of goes, and it makes a motion with its fingers like, which you can pretty easily interpret that it has run off into the city somewhere. So effectively, you are all out of combat, and you now have this snake-formed, paralyzed. Is there any additional saves against this paralysis or the effects of this telekinesis?
He can make a contested check at the end of every turn if he would like to.
All right, we're gonna do one now.
If he succeeds, he will be free and he will drop to 30 feet.
Yep.
All right, so I got a 13 plus 9, so it's 22.
I rolled another with the same exact die. I rolled another nat 20.
Shaking my head.
I wish I had my other camera up.
Wait a second. I'm spending a domain dice on this.
You guys haven't spent a single domain die.
Anytime I capture someone to interrogate, we end up killing them. It is not happening again.
There you go. That's 2 domain dice. Whoops. I don't know what I did there. 2 domain dice to get me to re-roll. I'm going to roll this same die again. I have a dice cam set up for our Thursday night game. I should set one up for this one.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 13, so that's going to be a 16 total. So it fails in that.
Thought I was gonna have to call shenanigans.
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 That's why I was holding my hand up, and I'm like, okay, I need to get this other camera that's over here so you guys can see this. Anyway, one other thing. I'm going to give you, at advantage, I'm going to give you a, Dunala, your choice. It can be insight or perception.
Let me see what my insight's at.
And that's going to be...
It's going to be an insight. All right, so it's a 13 plus 5 for 18.
The serpent barely opens its mouth, but it's a snake. It's in its snake form, so it doesn't really need to open its mouth to communicate. As its tongue licks the air, and you hear this first, and you recognize the beginnings of the suggestion spell.
They never listen. Dunala, literally, his eyes are like rolling out of his head as this happens. And that would trigger my held action of my blight.
All right.
So he's going to need to make a DC 17 save, and I got to roll 9 d8s.
I like how he says that we always end up killing the ones we want to interrogate, and he casts like a massive necromancy spell against it instead of like just throwing.
Yeah, I know. But
I could throw a dagger at it or tie it in a knot.
Marquise needs this. He needs to roll like
Marquise needs to roll fistfuls of dice on his spells. Yes. I know how it works. Well, so that's a DC. What? It's a DC what?
17.
I mean, what is it again? It's a con. Yeah.
No, for blight, yes.
That's a +1. So
it happens to be a plant. No, I'm just joking. I know it's not.
It is an 11.
Okay, perfect. So it fails. So it is taking a total of, this is going to kill it, 54 points of necrotic damage. As the light around it just begins to go darker and darker, and the light is being sucked out of its body, which is causing it to wither away.
As this happens, it literally appears to turn into a vine, a shriveled vine before you. It doesn't, but you've so blighted this thing that before you release it and let it drop to the ground, it looks like a shriveled, desiccated jungle vine. What you hear escaping from it as you cast this spell, you hear a single word spoken in the Yuan-Ti tongue. Tenda.
Dunala shakes his head and he puts one bare foot on this withered vine of a Yuan-Ti, and he says in the Yuan-Ti language, the mixture, he says, "You never do learn, my brothers. You never do learn." And then he will take his foot off of it, and then he will look the rest to see what everybody else is doing.
As Qualu is wiping the blood from his blade, he says to you, Dunala, And you are not the same Dunala that I left that left me behind.
I am not, and you're not the same Qualu either. I see your orc has gotten a little bit stronger since I've last seen you. Nah, no. Look, Jake. Okay, chat needs to see this. The world needs to see that Jake said I could have not blighted it. Listen, man,
You did not have
a choice.
You did not have to blight it though.
I told it. And listen and be pragmatic, my Wanty brother, or it's going to be a bad time. And he chose a bad time.
My point to that was because in the side chat, Marquise is blaming me yet again. Actually, Connor's the one that said that. That was Connor that said that I didn't want to have an interrogation scene planned. And that's not true. There are a million things that Dunala could have done that didn't involve completely one-shotting a Yuan-Ti.
Dunala gave this thing an option. It chose his option.
We know by now that Dunala either goes at a 0 or a 100. All right, so back to Dunala and Qualu's reunion.
Now that the threat has passed, let us join by the fire.
Well, perhaps I should introduce you to my comrades first. Huh?
I know who they are.
They don't know who you are, Qualu. Listen, it is nuanced. We talked about this. We talked about this a lot. When you met your wife, you are still together with your wife, yes? Do you even have a wife?
No, you're thinking of the wrong Qualu.
Oh, my bad, Qualu. I'm very sorry. Well, regardless, listen, it's been a long time. It gets hot here in Chult. It's been raining a lot. It hasn't been raining at all the last week, actually.
Thunder and it begins to rain.
No, thank you, Ukta. Ukta always has my back. Well, Vale,
magic stuff grows quite strong.
Yes, I have. But Vale, this is Qualu. He's my best friend. We used to work together at the dock, support Nyanzaru. Brilinya, I know you still don't know who we are, but this is my best friend Qualu.
I'll just nod my head when he mentions my name. I'll nod my head at Qualu.
I feel like bro's like, yeah, okay.
And as this introductions are happening, Qualu will lift this kind of ornately carved wooden mask. As it is, it looks kind of strange, just with these intricate carvings in it that seem very, symbolic to the Chultan people. And he kind of just pulls up over his head, and you can see these piercing amber eyes, darker Chultan skin, though his heritage is betrayed by these thick tusks that emerge from his lower lip. He is unashamedly a half-orc.
You were very light when we were working at the docks, but you always would say, I am Qualu, I wish I was darker. And then Dunala, would say, I am darker, so you do not want to be darker. It can be hot. And you would say, as Qualu, well, I don't know what you would say next. It was very hot on the docks, and I was not listening. But, we have someone inside as well you must meet. He is kind of scared right now, but we can go get him out from under his twigs. He's a friend of Brilinya's, but she doesn't remember him either. His name is Corvix, I think, or Orvix.
Orvix, I think.
Or Blue.
Let us go.
Yes, let's go. Come on.
Let's just go. There's a fire. Maybe we can make something to eat.
Oh, sorry, Vale.
That's all right.
I'm very happy. I've not seen my friend in a long time. He's a Commandant sent by Ubtao. Isn't that something neat?
Yes.
Qualu, what is all the...
And so you would know, Dunala, that this is not quite how Qualu was. You remember him as just being a kind of a joyous, kind of boisterous, dock worker as they come, dime a dozen. And he's showing very little emotion in his state.
Qualu, by happenstance, and this will seem like an absurd question, so forgive Dunala in advance. Have you become a Yuan-Ti since I last saw you?
Kind of just points at his tusks, kind of clacks against them.
Well, I didn't mean,
Yeah.
listen, the one T, they can make tusks go away. They can make them long or short, I imagine. It's just, you're acting a little bit, like you're not very, I don't know, happy. Like you have no, I don't know what this word means yet, but you don't have much serotonin in your brain right now. So you're not seeing very happy, not much dopamine going on.
Do you wish the bad news now or by the fire? As he walks towards your little encampment.
And Dunala will stop still and he will lower his arms and his smile will fade. And then he will say to you, what bad news?
Come, let us sit. You'll need to.
Let us stand, Qualu. Don't talk down to me. What bad news?
And he pulls from his belongings a small trinket or a small toy. And Marquise, you can tell us what this toy is, and because it belongs to your daughter. What is this toy?
Dunala carved for his daughter this small doll, and of course he dressed it up and he sewed all the buttons to it because Dunala was a very thorough father when he was a father. It was in the shape of a man, of what would have been Raz in the Sea, right? Had he been on the good path, like the quote unquote champion of Chult, who fights for all the Chultans' rights and the freedoms and the civil rights and all that stuff, and who fights for Ubtal and everyone. She loved it because his daughter, much to his chagrin at times, was very tomboyish, very, very aggressive, loved to fight everybody. So.
And he hands you this toy. Your daughter, she is not well. I've come this way, across miles of jungles of Chult, to tell you this. And he's trying to put this toy into your hands.
Dunala is looking at the toy in your hand. And I imagine like at some point you like grab his hand and like put the doll in there. And as he's looking at it, Dunala says to you, without looking up to you, what do you mean unwell?
Her eyes are now closed. Her breaths labored. At least they were, as I left.
And
in the eternal sleep.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
In the eternal sleep. Her skin feverish. She's not well, stricken by some fell plague. Her heart still beats, but how long, I do not know.
Dunala is quiet for a very short moment as he's looking at this. And he remembers days ago when he himself was able to actually speak with Ubtal, and when Ubtal told him he would see his daughter again, should he stay on the right path. And hearing now that his daughter is on death's door, and that his best friend has somehow traveled all the way from Port Dianzaru to the last city of Omu to tell him this, and has brought this toy to him as proof, Dunala opens his mouth and he says something so low that you can't hear it. But the moment he says that thing, you just begin to feel this trembling all around you, as if he's cast some spell or some sorts. And the next moment, you see one of the buildings, maybe 30 feet away, just completely explode as if Dunala has cast fireball on it, which she has. And he will look back up to you, Qualu, and he will very calmly say, his face completely devoid of human features, almost completely Wanti. He will say to you, repeat that for me, Qualu.
Your daughter is ill, stricken by some fell plague. Where's that feedback coming from? Ah, it is him, the Dunala, bringer of feedbacks. And he'll continue, he'll repeat what he said, and he'll add on one further statement. If you go back now, it is sure that she'll be gone. Our only hope is to destroy the Soulmonger. And he closes your hand around the toy, clasping it in both of his gauntleted hands, your hand. And he says to you, she still loves you.
He was opening his mouth to say something, but then when you said that last line, Dunala's wanty facade, I guess at this point, completely breaks. And you see there are actual tears in his eyes. And Bril Vale, you would see this as well. And he grits his teeth. He grits his teeth so hard that you can hear it. And then he bites something in his mouth and he spits blood on the ground. And he asks you, how long have you been following me? And when did she get sick?
I have been in the jungles of Chult for 4 months to find where your feet have fallen. I followed. I saw you climb aboard the great airship as I followed it from wingback on a pteranodon. I saw it crash into the canopy of the jungle. I saw you were not there. I saw the corpses. So I went back. I found the great monastery of Kirsabal. And I'll make an addendum to my story is 2 months, not 4, because I am bad at math. I found the great monastery of Kirsabal. And I saw the 3 of you fly on wings, along with a bird. And I followed you, though on foot. Followed you here.
You have walked a very, very long while, my brother, to tell me these. Thank you. I do not expect that you will be turning to walk back.
I will see it done, the soulmonger.
No other man would I have entrusted to be my daughter's foster parent other than you. You have
I
proved
cared for her in your absence. I cared for her in her illness. And I will care for her in her passing so that she can come back to us once this is all over.
Dunala takes the doll and he puts it somewhere in his robes. And then he speaks not to you, but to Vale and to Brilinya, who is not facing, but mainly to Vale. And he says, I'm going to go find Raz Nasi now. I suspect if he is here, he will know where the puzzle cubes are at. It is a conversation I am not looking for, but I must go have it regardless. Vale, I understand if you want to get back Bril's memories first. That is fair.
I mean, is it even possible to just snap our fingers and have Brill back? More importantly, Brilinya, do you want your memories back? Do you even want to start anew? I mean, I don't want to just throw magic upon you to change you the way you are. Or do you want to find out in bits and pieces and just listen to us?
She looks at you for a moment. She's kind of surprised at what you said, and you can see that the shock in her face, and then later on, just thinking. I've read the book that Dunala gave to me. Someone named Cole. She speaks of you and others so fondly. I felt like it was not my life I was living. It was not me in that book. And I feel like that has been taken from me somehow. And I want that back. I want the I want my ability to make decisions, to know what's happening. How I saw all of you fight together, I felt so helpless. I felt like I didn't know anything. I felt like I was missing. Something was missing, and I didn't. And that's hard when you don't even know what you're missing.
If you want, I can cure you. I can cast a spell upon you, but I'll not cast a spell upon you without your permission. Just seems to be, I don't know, bad form, I guess. But if you don't want to, and you want to relearn everything, we can do that as well. And we can sit down and talk every evening and speak about how we came to be in this place. Or I guess I could snap my fingers and have you be the way you are, or at least the way you were.
You seem very sweet to offer to do that, but I feel like there's more important things to be done, a bigger picture. And I figure the faster that I can rejoin whatever it was that I'd lost, I would like that.
All right. Well, and I'll just hold out my hand. And say, well, if you give me your hand, then I can make this. But just figured it was the right thing to do. And if you were to give me your hand, then I would cast Lesser Restoration.
As Vale takes your hand, Brilinya, the magic that Vale casts, immediately, the light of the spell immediately seems to just pulse into your hand. Your now mithril infused, if you remember when you were healed after that incident, your scars actually completely went away. But the mithril that traced that scar tissue below the surface of your skin illuminates. And for a moment, that illumination sort of carries up your arms through your veins. And when it reaches up your neck, every memory that you had lost for the previous, at this point, almost, we'll say it's probably been about 13 or 14 hours. Every memory floods back in. You have this sort of, you see you and Cole standing in the rain outside of Sindra Sylvain's place when you first learned that, you first had that confrontation. You see all of these different moments. You see Cole's death at the Allosaur outside of the Shrine of the Man and Crocodile. You see you traveling through the jungle, fighting zombies. You see when Dunala joined you. You see Vorn fighting alongside you at Camp Vengeance. You see Artis Cimber and Dragonbait arriving with the hags on the airship and taking you all away. You see the airship crashing off into the distance, leaving you all. You see you rescuing Eric. You see yourselves at Kir Sabal. All of these memories over the last several weeks, and then you see yourself for 6 months within this gem, imprisoned by Brother Mateus. You see and feel everything that you felt during those 6 months. And you burst suddenly free. Just all of a sudden, all of this happens in an instant as these memories flood back. And the amnesia is completely gone. How does Brilinya react in that instant?
I think that that initial just rush of all of these memories just flooding into her brain, she actually takes her other hand and steadies herself on Vale for a moment and just kind of closes her eyes, wavering a little bit. But then when she opens them again, you see this brightness and she looks at you and at Dunala, and you can see the recognition, the relief, the joy, the sadness, the grief, all of these emotions just coming all together. And she looks back at you, Vale, and she just falls into you, and she begins to weep, just racking sobs.
Yeah, and I'd probably just put my arm around her shoulder and just not say anything. Just
as Brilinya collapses into Vale's arms, and Vale begins to just hold her and comfort her, her body racked with sobs, Walu looking on, having an inkling of what's going on, but only as an outside observer. Dunala, you look off to the northeast, thoughts of Rosnasi and your desire to confront with him, the weight of the news that Walu has given you weighing on your shoulders. We again sort of zoom across the ruins of the forbidden city of Omu, twisting in and around shrines and broken buildings, broken boulevards, vines grasping at what was once a prosperous jungle city of great glory. As we move through, we see in several places, we see Yuan-ti Malisons and other Yuan-ti moving in and around the rubble. We move towards a part of the city 2 kilometers away that is the walls around this once great palace are circular. And we sort of see, as we begin moving towards this palace, that you can hear the labored breathing in the footfalls. And we see as a bloodied and battered Yuan-ti Malison with a snake head, the very one that was knocked off the wall by the elemental, stumbles and falls and climbs up the steps of this once magnificent palace, where at the top of the stairs, once again, we see Rosnasi looking out to the southwest, a rising plume of smoke and dust from the fireball that Dunala had used to destroy the building in a sudden burst of arcane emotion. The once deceased, now very much living Yuan-ti Salida standing next to him. The Malison utters words that are little more than hisses to the two of them. A smile curls at the corner of Salida's mouth. Yes, it is all falling into place, exactly as we foretold. They will be here before too long. Rosnasi and Salida turn, moving into the shadowy depths of this palace. There's a flare of light in the darkness. As a couple torches are illuminated, and we see inside the ruins of this palace The walls have been carved with serpentine symbols of the Yuan-Ti, with the ritualistic markings of Dendar, the night serpent. And where these torches have been illuminated, we see a stone and bone altar. The firelight reflecting on the twin orbs of eyes that are staring straight up at the ceiling, unblinking, unseeing. Though she is not tied down, she wears a simple silk shift. Dunala's daughter is in the fane of the night serpent. That is where we are going to end tonight's session.
Now I gotta bust out 6th, 7th, 9th level fireballs.
You made Qualu a liar too. Ah, fuck.
No, not necessarily. As far as you know, as far as Qualu knows, he told the truth.
Now Qualu's gotta get fireballs. Man, everyone's getting fireballed at this point. We're
gonna have to kill Qualu. I mean, that's the only.
We have to.
Gonna have to, yeah.
I'd like to see you try.
Connor, I told you they'd see right through that Paladin, agent of the Yuan-Ti's disguise.
Yeah, darn.
Well, that wasn't exactly how I thought that would go. I honestly expected there to be a combat at the beginning of the session. But as I said, you guys are level 9 and throwing a few higher level. Actually, they're not even high level. They're only CR3s, but there were 6 or 5 of them.
Oh, that was still pretty good. I mean, all things considered, I think if I had rolled a bit worse on my initiative, then yeah, I probably would have.
It really was the initiative rolls, because all 4 of the 5 Malisons were last in the initiative order. And Dunala's epic wall of light in the air, which was a brilliant maneuver. I just rolled to see if they would know better than to look up, and that's the one that failed, and he stayed blind the whole time. And we have a great introduction to Qualu as essentially he's at this point Chult's the mountain that rides, it seems. It's Qualu Clegane. But I really enjoyed that. As I've said before, to those that I know, we had we've had a couple viewers coming in that are way late in our overall story. There are several episodes that I'm working on getting the gap episodes filled in on YouTube at youtube.com/miniterraindomain, so you can catch all of the story if you're interested. But we are moving into sort of the final chapters of this story. So as the spiral of the story is tightened, I like using that third person to give the players a little bit of a emotional kick, though their characters have no true sense of what really is going on there. I love where we are right now. I've loved this game all along. And I just love that we're kind of moving into these final chapters. You guys are reaching that true heroic level, which will just make it that much more fun to utterly destroy you in these final chapters, or get utterly destroyed by you. I don't know. So, thank you, of course, to Mike, Marquise, Connor, and Megan, as always, for bringing what you bring to this. Makes it so just Sunday nights are awesome because of you guys. And thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you to Starin19 for the tip, for Cheswick Student for the bits. You guys paid for Dunala to cancel that crit that I rolled earlier. So we always appreciate that and appreciate all of you. And I think Starin even was hosting the game tonight, so thank you for that as well. You can find us here every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/mini terrain domain. Tomorrow night, Monday nights at 8:30, is our All That Glitters Waterdeep Dragon Heist, DM'd by none other than Mr. Mike the Piper. And also we have down here, Megan joins us as well every Monday, along with a couple other players. And then on, actually this Tuesday, you can find me over on Dice on Ice YouTube channel, where Megan is DMing a Curse of Strahd game that Connor and I are both a part of. And then Thursday nights, again, you can see Megan along with a few others for our Dawnbringers Forge of Fury Season 2 campaign that is taking place on Thursday nights. And just for especially because we've got a couple new people in here, I'm just going to put this out there because we're getting real close to actually starting to do a broad media push on this, social media push. Coming in May, Mini Terrain Domain will be the host of Jasper's Game Week. 5 days, 40 hours of role-playing games. One great cause, Jasper's Game Day, to benefit to raise money to benefit research, suicide prevention, specifically teen suicide. I will say that there are a lot. I'm so excited to be able to actually, when we do push out the information, there are some big names from Wizards of the Coast and all over the place on Twitter, Geek and Sundry, and other places that are going to be playing some games. There are some people from right here that are going to be playing and running some games. And we have tons of fantastic sponsors like Wormwood, Dogmite Games, D&D Beyond, Wizards of the Coast. So many prizes, and I think we're even going to have, I've teased this before, we're getting really close to being able to officially release the Mini Terrain Domain branded coffee. Yes, you heard that right. A coffee roast called Metade. And we have a sponsor lined up that we are possibly going to be able to give away a pound of coffee every hour for the entire 40 hours of the stream. So that means that somebody's going to win something like that. So there will definitely be more information. Follow at MTD Jake on Twitter to get all the information on that. Of course, follow all of these folks on their Twitter. See what they're up to in the social media sphere. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to get out of here until we see you next week. We're going to end this game the same way we end every stream, and you can say it with me if you want.
Hey, hail Dendar.
Drugs.